Can I please remind you to ensure phones and other devices are on silent, that banners, etc. are not permitted and members of the public are not allowed to address the meeting, to use the microphones which are available when addressing the meeting, that you may be filmed or recorded during this meeting. Thank you. Please be upstanding for Madam Chairman.
Good morning. Good morning, members. Can I ask my chaplain, Reverend Ross Olding, to lead the prayers, please?
Almighty God, I give thanks for and on behalf of all those gathered here today. We thank you for your many abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health that we need to fulfill our callings, and for sustenance and for friendship. We thank you for the privilege and ability to be involved in useful work and for the honour of serving in the roles we have. Thanks as well for the freedom to embrace you or the freedom to reject you. And thank you for loving us regardless from your boundless and gracious nature. We come before you today with gratitude for the opportunity to serve our communities and for the responsibility and roles entrusted to each of us. As this council gathers in this place to make decisions that will shape the lives of those we represent, we ask for your guidance and presence amongst us. We ask that you would grant wisdom, that every matter would be approached with clarity of mind and purity of intention. May we hear not only the voices in this room, but also those who are often unheard, the vulnerable, the weary, and the marginalised. Teach us to work together, even in our differences. When opinions diverge and tempers rise, remind us of our shared purpose to serve the greater good. Give us patience when the way forward is unclear, and perseverance when progress feels slow. We ask for a spirit of cooperation rather than competition, humility rather than pride, and understanding rather than judgment. May we be mindful that our words have weight, our actions have consequences, and our leadership carries a sacred duty. We pray for the people of this community, for their safety, their health, their prosperity, and their peace. Bless this council through their deliberations and work ahead. But most of all, I pray that each person here will experience personal peace in their lives and joy in their tasks. And when we leave this place, may we do so with a renewed commitment to fairness, equality, and the highest ideals of public service. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. I ask Council to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. All those in favour? Apologies for absence. I will now ask each group to provide any apologies. Please ensure reasons for any apology that is provided. So, Councillor Martin Wright, do you have any apologies?
Thank you, Chair. I do. I have Councillor James Rawson for other reasons, Councillor Kevin Brown, also other reasons, and Councillor Joseph Rich for other reasons. In brackets, is getting married today, so he couldn't come. I also have two councillors who will be late, Councillor Kelvin Wright and Councillor Kevin Dale, are on their way. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wheeler, do you have any apologies?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I've got one apology, which is Councillor Roger Upton for medical reasons. Thank you.
Councillor Clooney, do you have any apologies?
I don't have any apologies for this morning, but this afternoon, Councillor Clark will be absent for other reasons. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Carr, do you have any apologies?
Councillor Carr sends his apologies for other reasons.
Thank
I'll
you.
present them to you.
Declarations of interest. If any councillor or officer has an interest in any matter on the agenda, you should declare it now. Please raise your hand now if you have an interest to declare. When called to speak, you should state what type of interest it is and give brief details. Item 4. Rearranged Mansfield North Hall and Newark East by-election results and recognition of members of groups. I call upon Councillor Barton to introduce the addendum report and to move the recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. First of all, congratulations to the 3 new members who are with us today for their first full council meeting under this new administration. That's Councillor Gaynor Mann, Councillor David Smith and Councillor Keith Girling. Welcome. Can I propose the following recommendations? That the outcomes of the rearranged Mansfield North poll and the Newark by-election be noted, Madam Chair, and that the membership of the political groups of the council be noted. Thank you.
I call on Councillor Martin Wright to second the motion.
I second the motion and reserve the right, Chair. Thank you.
I will now open the debate. Councillor Sam Smith, please.
Thank you, Chairman, and welcome to the new reformed councillors for Mansfield. It's great to have you here representing the residents of Nottinghamshire. Is the biggest privilege and honour, and I'm sure you will do all you can to deliver on their promises. Madam Chairman, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Councillor Keith Girling back to Nottinghamshire County Councillor for Newark West. This is the first of many Conservative gains from reform. 2 months, Madam Chairman, after a Reform councillor was elected. What this by-election proves, Madam Chairman, is the county of Nottinghamshire, the country and Newark will not be fooled by reform twice, Madam Chairman. Newark West residents have seen through the empty promises and lack of delivery, Madam Chairman. You promised on your election leaflets in May to stop the boats. No boats have stopped. 0 have stopped, and you can't even stop them coming down the Trent, Madam Chairman. You promised to cut tax. Tax hasn't been cut, Madam Chairman. And in fact, the by-election that you triggered by one of yours resigning has cost the taxpayers of Nottinghamshire £25,000, Madam Chairman. Reform promised more doctors' appointments. You can't deliver that from Nottinghamshire County Council. Reform promised to bring in UK-produced energy. You cannot do that from Nottinghamshire County Council, Madam Chairman. Empty promises, all undeliverable from County Hall, and the residents of Nottinghamshire have no idea genuinely on what reform are doing.
Sorry, point of order, Chairman. Point of order.
They haven't, they've backed the Conservatives in this by-election because local Conservatives can
Point of
deliver
order,
for
Chairman.
Nottinghamshire. And we will continue to do that.
Point
of order, Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Smith, stop.
Thank you.
A point of order is this is about 3 councillors getting elected. It's not a political grandstanding platform. Sorry, Madam Chairman. It's not a political grandstanding. We should be welcoming these councillors, not making political... I've got sheets and sheer I could say about the Conservatives in recent by-elections.
Standing orders, Chairman.
A point of order.
Political grandstanding, Chairman, under an item that shouldn't be.
Councillor. You finished. Just finish now, please.
I'll let you off.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. In conclusion, the residents of Newark West, which this agenda item is about, agenda item 4 says to recognise the poll of the Newark West by-election, and that's what I was talking to, Madam Chairman. The residents of Newark West, like the rest of Nottinghamshire, have realised that it's only the local Conservatives who will deliver on their local priorities. Keith will be doing that fantastically for Newark West, and we'll continue doing it as a group for the whole of Nottinghamshire. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you for the leader of the Nottinghamshire Council, Councillor Mick Barton. Also, thank you to Councillor Smith for his tirade of abuse is actually aimed towards us. And I just want to give you my point of view, please. Since being elected, I firstly want to thank all my fellow Reform colleagues and all the candidates and everybody else who helped with our campaign, our election campaign, who helped volunteer in delivering leaflets, which helped a lot. Secondly, I'd like to thank all the leaders of the County Council who have made me feel very welcome, myself and Councillor David Smith, since we joined the County Council. Never done anything like this before, so I want to thank all my colleagues for giving me the utmost respect and also being very supportive. Myself and Councillor David Smith, it is our aim to work with our constituents, to listen to them at Mansfield North and to basically work for them. That is our job as a county councillor, I believe. I class you all as friends. Like I said, you've been very supportive and positive. And in Reform UK, we're all on the same page. We want the best for the great people of Nottinghamshire, the county of Nottinghamshire. I'm honoured to be elected, and the electorate have shown they want a change of political direction. That was proved by the majority of results we got. I do not want to let my constituents down. I don't intend to. I will listen to, work with, and more importantly, work for the residents of Mansfield North. Likewise, my Reform colleagues also intend to do the same. That is what we were voted. That's what we won the election for. My priority is to ensure the people have put their trust in us, myself and David, and the other Reform colleagues feel safe and live a healthy and happy life. And as a team, I believe we can make this a reality. So thank you very much, everybody.
Councillor Lawton.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Keith, where are you? Welcome, my friend. How are you? All right, and I hope it's welcome to see you back. You were, in inverted commas, a sad loss for 2 months, but now we've gained you back into the fold. My really is a point, Madam Chairman, if I may. I think it might be advisable for the monitoring officer to explain that when you are making a point of order, you actually use the information on page 3, where there is a series of numbers. I presume that the leader of the Reform Group was going on the recommendation 70, where it says the member is not speaking, but it is protocol to mention which point of order you are using. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Councillor Garding, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Crikey, I've been away. I didn't realise I was coming back to this. But anyway, before I say anything, Chairman, I'd just like to say actually a little bit about Des Clark, who beat me in the May election and then stood down 6 days later. That man actually gave me a phone call on the Sunday after he beat me to talk to me about what it would be like to be a councillor representing the largest council estate in Nottinghamshire. And I really admire him for that, because we had a really good talk about it. And I told him that the people of Newark West deserved somebody to be there and work hard for them. Yeah, and then I heard that he resigned, and I'm obviously very pleased with that, because it then meant that I had another chance to stand. But then I saw some of the Facebook posts against him and about him resigning like that, and I think it was very unfair. He showed extreme courage there. He realised he wasn't up for the job, and he resigned. And I hope some of you actually think about that and when we move forward. I also heard about the fact that Reform are here to sort of save money, which is great. I'm all for saving money. But you cost £25,000 by calling that
by-election. But actually, I think it was really well spent because you've ended up with me. So, you know, I just want to pay tribute to all the people that came out to help me. This is the first seat in the country that's taken a seat from Reform. Quite significant, really. Yeah, it's the first seat that's taken a seat from Reform, and it shows you're not as good as you think you are, and that we know we can now win. And that's a really good thing from the Conservative point of view. Yeah, I've always worked hard for my constituency, always, and they deserve us to be there, present and working in the community. It's not about the meetings here, it's about what we do in that community. And I think some of us need to reflect on that when we don't turn up to things within the community and do things for them, because that's what we're here for at the end of the day, is to make their lives better. And that's what I take great pride in doing. It's a bit strange, because before I was a cabinet member, and now I'm a backbencher with nothing to do at all, so it's great. We've got loads of time to start picking on you all and work out where you're going wrong and highlight it. So you're going to have some fun with me, I suppose, over the next 4 years. But I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into this council and making sure we're keeping the right direction. Because as much as you might want to call this the previous administration, it was a good administration. All you had to do was compare us with some of the other councils around here. Yeah, we was in a good place financially, as best you can be. Yeah, we brought lots of money in, yeah, to reduce our debt. And I think there's a question about that later on, so you'll get to know how much by. And you're welcome, by the way, because that was all through my department. Yeah, and it's about making sure that we keep in the right direction. Don't chuck the baby out with the bathwater. You've got a good council here, you've got good officers, yeah, who work really hard for this council because they believe in Nottinghamshire. And it just worries me some of the language that's used sometimes about not letting them work from home, not letting them do this. We're going to stay at County Hall. I mean, whoever comes up with that as a solution, you need to give your head a wobble, really. This is the place we need to be from here on. But anyway, I just want to pay tribute then to everybody that helped me. Everybody around here came out and helped. Yeah, I had 34 people delivering for me from all over Leicestershire, Derbyshire, Lincolnshire, because the Conservatives were here and we're in strength. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Fascio.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just wanted to welcome the new councillors to the authority from the Labour group, particularly Councillor Mann. There is a lack of female voices on this council, and I welcome another one.
Councillor Martin Wright, you reserved your right to speak.
Thank you, Chair. I would also like to welcome our two new councillors, Councillor Mann, Councillor Smith. And I'd also like to welcome Keith. Keith, I worked with Keith for 4 years, some time ago on health scrutiny. Always found him to be a very good councillor, although he always has plenty to say, which is fair enough, I wasn't really going to speak until Councillor Smith went on his rant. To say the tide has turned in Nottinghamshire in 3 weeks. On the 12th of June, our two new councillors had majorities of 1,800 to 2,000. Wonderful. Keith had a majority of 8. He probably bought those 8. He probably bought those 8 around the drinks. But all credit due to Keith. He is a good councillor. I do welcome him, and I look forward to working with him again. Thank you.
I call on Councillor Barton for your right to reply.
I've got nothing more to say.
Stand up.
Oh, sorry, I do apologise. I have got nothing more to say, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you. This to note report has been received by the Chamber. Move on now to Chairman's business. There are no awards to be presented today. However, I would like to update the Council on business undertaken since the last meeting. I've had the honour and privilege of attending 13 civic events since our last meeting. Prior to the first event, I had an accident and broke my wrist. Despite the injury, I decided to carry out my duties for the evening and did not attend hospital until the following day. It was there at the Queen's Medical Centre that I received the most wonderful care. Nothing was too much trouble, and every member of staff caring for me went to great lengths to ensure I was as comfortable as possible. And when I needed surgery, it was carried out swiftly. I cannot praise the NHS enough for their dedication, professionalism and care. Many thanks indeed to the QMC staff. Moving on, despite my broken wrist, I managed to carry on with all my duties and events. I have met many incredible people from all walks of life doing incredible things in their communities. For example, I attended the Windrush Celebration Day. I listened intently to their stories and praised them for their fortitude and steadfastness in difficult times throughout the past. We are so lucky to have diverse cultures within our society. Portland College was another visit where I marvelled at the work taking place. It is my intention to return again and again to learn more about the incredible progress being made there. We have so many people out there helping others. It's hard-working and makes me proud. I must mention also our Fly a Flag for Armed Forces Days. I attended several of these ceremonies throughout our councils and felt very proud to see our veterans with their medals. We must never, never forget. Finally, let me say a huge thank you to everyone who made my civic service on Sunday at Southern Minster such a wonderful and successful day. Thank you to the Civic Office, my chaplain, Russ Balding, the Ukrainian Choir, Pulp Fiction, all the attendees, members of the clergy and choirs. Thank you. We will be breaking for lunch at approximately 12:30 p.m. today. We're moving on now to constituency issues. This item gives members who have previously given notice by the deadline the opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes on any particular matter relevant to their constituencies or any particular issues arising in their electoral division, which is relevant to the services provided by the County Council. This is an opportunity simply to air these issues in the council meeting. It will not give rise to a debate on the issues or a question and answer session. Members are reminded that there is a maximum time limit of 15 minutes for this item, and each member may only speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Any speeches not heard in the time limit will fall and can be submitted again at a future meeting. We have 10 speeches today. I call on Councillor Adams to speak regarding drainage on Whitworth Drive and Burton Road.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, so to kick off, I want to talk about Whitworth Drive, like you rightly say. Whitworth Drive is a culvert that runs down the side of Colliery Way, which is on the border of Burton Joyce and Gedling, and in fact runs all the way from the A612 all the way to Mapley Top. What happens on this culvert is when we have severe rainfall, particularly up in the hills, it acts like a giant sink, if you like, and it pulls this water down into these culverts. Multiple culverts meet, and it sends the water theoretically down this culvert to go under a road and then disappear off into the fields, the floodplains. What happens is, and like what happened to me last year, was when we have that severe rain, the pipe under the road doesn't seem to be capable of dealing with this water. And what we found over time, although we've tried many things over the previous 4 years to resolve it in terms of digging out, ensuring that the culvert is better graded, putting leaky dams in, everything we can to try and restrict this flow. And it has had some impact, there's no question about that, because before it was every rainfall, now it's the more severe rainfalls that does it. As this culvert then overflows, it pumps this water down a long street, Councillor Smith and I, who is my colleague in Trent Valley on the Borough Council, have been out there ourselves digging people out of their driveways that have been unable to leave their properties because of thick mud that comes out of this culvert all along this stretch of Burton Road. So what I've been doing is during the election campaign, I launched a petition which I'm trying to build some more interest in with the speech today, and that's to ensure that we put in a better pipe under the road, but also we ensure that we put in the eco-style drainage down the side of the curbs, which should help deal with some of that issue when the water spills over. Why? Well, what happens is when the water comes over, not only does it fill this side road with mud, but it also spills onto the A612, creating quite a large puddle. And I mean a large puddle in the fact it stretches across one side of the highway. So as cars come down there, normally when you get called out, it's about 5:30 in the middle of the night. I don't literally get called out, but my phone lights up and starts flashing with everybody getting in contact with me, local residents concerned. So there's one reason to stop that. We had a car accident there last year. Car went into the water at pace. Again, veered off, hit a lamppost. But also, kids walk this way to school. This is one of the main routes from Burton Joyce to Carlton Willows School. And last year, I was literally having to divert kids around puddles myself because I had high vis on, so they avoided getting drenched. Because cars, as we know, don't always think about pedestrians as they drive past and can splash them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Family Hub building in Misterton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to talk about the issue of the old school building in Misterton Village. The building is part of the County Council's asset portfolio, and as it says on the tin, is an old school built in 1872. At present, it is used as the area's family hub and also hosts the Inspire Library and local youth club. As it forms part of the family hub network in North Bassetlaw, alongside facilities in Langold and Harworth, it is a vital part of the service provision for families in the Misterton division. Unfortunately, previous administrations haven't shared this view. Over 20 years, the building has been left to rack and ruin. Leaking windows, leaking roof, damp and mould, rotting floorboards are just the headline issues of a building that's been neglected for decades. Neglected so badly, rooms used by the youth club were condemned, leading to them being displaced to the Children's Centre and the Children's Centre services being displaced from the building entirely. The building is in such a poor state, the former Cabinet Member for Economic Development and Asset Management, Keith Girling, attended the Misterton Parish Council and said this was on his too difficult to deal with pile, demonstrating the previous administration's approach for dealing with community needs. For families in my division needing to access children's services, they currently have to travel to Harworth and Langold, 11 and 13 miles away respectively, with poor public transport connections. The failure of previous administrations to deal with this issue has meant the residents of Misterton, Gringley, Walkeringham, West Stockwith, Beckingham and more have reduced access to services. And it is these residents who are less well off and reliant on public transport who are affected the most. However, we form the administration now and we will not fail the residents of the Misterton division. I'm lucky to have Councillor Walker-Gurley and Councillor Green who are fully on board and eager to support. We will resolve the issues of this neglected building and ensure all families and children's services can be properly housed in the Misterton division. This is the difference between the current and previous administrations. We do not have a too difficult to deal with pile. We have a can-do attitude and we get on with the job. Thank you.
I call on Councillor Gowland to speak regarding the Trent Bridge Sporting Quarter.
Last week, Rushcliffe Borough Council approved the planning application for the City Ground. It's great that the future of this site has finally been resolved. Most people will know the area around the ground isn't particularly attractive, so I'm sure everyone will welcome the proposed new Trentside Plaza, which I hope will be open to the public between matches. At Trent Bridge, we have two internationally famous sporting names, Forest and the Cricket Ground, but the area also boasts county, room for cheers here, rugby club, numerous rowing and canoeing clubs, and of course the water sports centre, which is run by this council. Personally, I have to admit, I was useless at sport at school, but even I loved to hear the mull of Kintyre from my garden and watch the fans walking down the road after a win. And I'm able to hold a conversation about the Premier League now. But these sites are increasingly being used not only for sporting events, but also stadium concerts and music festivals. This sporting quarter should be a driver for our visitor economy for the whole of the Greater Nottinghamshire. And there's also an opportunity to exploit County Hall in this sporting quarter. Why not make this civic space open when it's not being used by the county to make money for the county as a conference facility? But anyhow, but to capitalise on all of this, we need great transport links for the area. The new developments at the City Ground will replace a barren car park with a nice plaza, which is great. But with the enlarged stand, where are the cars going to go? The crowds at Forest are now larger than they've been for decades and will grow with the enlarged stadium. There are more people now drive, and of course, they come in larger cars. So the traffic is just getting worse and worse. This is both worrying for both fans and residents. People have to drive round and round looking for somewhere to park. Buses are blocked by double parked cars. Pavements are obstructed, so people in their wheelchairs are trapped in their houses. And workers are unable to get home or park within a mile of their home during an evening match. I'm afraid many people think that County Highway should have been more proactive when they asked for Forest at the planning application. There's money for buses, but only for 5 years. And I don't see why Forest should be paying for upgrades of junctions, which need to be upgraded anyway. What we need is new park and rides for events, public transport tickets including ticket prices for all venues and all events, and we need match day parking restrictions. Ironically, those do exist at the moment for a very small stretch of road on Lady Bay Bridge entrance to the City Ground, but not for residents. So residents can live their lives without too much disruption, and visitors who come to the area and to our county feel welcomed to our lovely and lively area. Thank you.
I call on Councillor Stephen Pearson to speak regarding Bingham Railway Station parking and access.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the recently elected councillor for Bingham East, I want to raise an issue that has been brought to me by residents both before and since I took office. It's something that affects hundreds of people, and it speaks to a broader concern about how we as an authority match infrastructure with growth. As many members will know, Bingham has seen extraordinary housing growth in recent years. There's been developments such as Romans Quarter and the Newton Garden Village. This growth has been fuelled in part by Bingham's reputation, confirmed by national studies, as one of the best places in England to raise a family, and rightly so. We have good schools, good community facilities, and excellent access to the countryside. There's also a current proposal for a commercial development that could create up to 2,000 jobs. But there's a catch. The transport links simply haven't kept pace. In particular, our railway station is under immense pressure. Despite regular and well-used services to both Nottingham and Grantham, the station has parking for just 7, I'll repeat that, 7 cars. For a town of its size, that's completely inadequate. That means that residents are either going to drive longer distances to better connect to stations, to park unsafely or illegally, or just to decide to go into Nottingham up the A52 with all the traffic problems there. So that's a barrier to sustainable transport and economic mobility. There is a potential solution, however. There is a suitable space for a commuter car park with land available that the town council said it would make available. But there's a problem. It's literally on the wrong side of the track. It's on the opposite side of the railway tracks for people going into Nottingham. Network Rail have said that any development would require a new footbridge for safety reasons, which of course needs to be DDA compliant with a ramp structure. The cost of that could be £5 to £10 million. And that's a frustration. This issue has been there for over a decade, yet it remains unresolved due to a lack of funding. There are some Section 106 developer contributions that are available, but frankly, nowhere near enough. Meanwhile, we've seen that the city have funding for a new bridge over the Trent. And of course, we have a combined authority with transport responsibilities and a strategic view of our region's needs. I'd like to urge the County Council to prioritise this issue, and I call on the portfolio holder to commit to working with me, Rushcliffe Council, Bingham Town Council, my colleague Councillor Neil Clark, the member for Bingham West, to explore all available funding options through the East Midlands Combined Authority, through government grants or other sources, to finally deliver this much needed infrastructure. Thank you.
I call on Councillor James Gamble to speak regarding King Edwin Primary School.
Good morning, everybody. How exciting is this? My first ever speech to full council. I'm James Gamble, County Councillor for Sherwood Forest. Think of Babe Marion, Robin Hood, the Major Oak. That's my division. I'm very proud to represent the constituents, the residents, public and visitors who go to the division. I've met lots and lots of different people, lots of organisations, done casework. One of them is King Edwin Primary School. This is a four-year problem that they've had. So they've actually spoken to Secretary of State, they've written to the Secretary of State, they've written to the previous leader of the council, they've written to the Chief Executive of the council, they've written to the portfolio of the council, they've got nowhere with this. They are full to capacity. Although we've got Thoresby Vale Primary School, which will be delivered end of September, they've still got a problem with special education need provision, which is one-on-one support. They need a breakout space. So what they've proposed for 4 years is a rotunda building in the playground area to provide breakout one-on-one space where it's safeguarded. Now, they've been overlooked with Section 106 funding for 4 years. We've had 5 developments in Edwinstowe and around there. So I would like to ask this council, and I'll be talking to my portfolio holder, Hannah John, who's brilliant in her new role as education and special education needs, to have a chat that with the next development that's proposed on Mansfield Road, if Section 106 money for that development can be considered for King Edwin Primary, so we can get this rotunda building. So all the students and all the teachers have got a perfect place to teach their special education needs students. Thank you.
I call on Councillor Brown to speak regarding the campaign for more stopping bus services through your division.
Thank you, Madam Chair. After 4 years away from this council, I'm resuming my campaign for a local stopping bus service to East Midlands Airport and East Midlands Parkway Railway Station for the residents of villages I represent and people living in other villages in South West Rushcliffe. The airport is an important passenger and cargo hub offering job opportunities for local people. Just last month, the airport unveiled plans to create over 20,000 more jobs by 2043. Rushcliffe residents living beneath the flight path tolerate the noise and other negative side effects of living near a fast-growing airport site, but they still lack the benefits of a regular stopping bus service linking them to the excellent economic benefits it offers. They get all the pain, but not enough of the gain. Trent Barton operates a Skylink Express bus which boasts that it travels non-stop along the A453. Indeed it does, often half empty, bypassing the villages in my division, including Eastleigh and Ruddington and other villages in neighbouring divisions. When I've complained, I've been told that Skylink Express is intended as a fast link bus between Nottingham and the airport and is not designed to be a local stopping service. Well, sorry, but that's no consolation for my residents who deserve better. Trent Barton's other Skylink bus service does stop on request as it travels through Beeston, Long Eaton, Sawley, Castle Donington on its way to and from the airport. In fact, all areas surrounding the airport, including communities in Leicestershire, Derbyshire and Staffordshire, enjoy the benefit of a local stopping bus service to the airport, while my division and the wider South West Rushcliffe area are conspicuously left out. I've made this point as a member of the East Midlands Airport Consultative Committee, where just last week I learned that Diamond Bus, in partnership with Staffordshire County Council, Derbyshire County Council and East Midlands Airport, as well as East Midlands Gateway, are investing £3.5 million in electric buses to enhance the 7 days a week hourly service to the airport and gateway sites. Well, bully for them, but what about us? I appreciate that the local stopping bus service takes longer on their journey than the express services, but when you travel on the non-express Skylink bus, you realise a lot of people use it every day to commute to the airport jobs. For example, DHL, UPS, Ryanair and Jet2. So, Madam Chair, I've written to the East Midlands Mayor, who has access to levels of funding not available to individual councils, such as Nottinghamshire. I've pointed out an opportunity for East Midlands Combined County Authority to finally support a local stopping bus service to the airport for residents in the South West Rushcliffe area, improving access to existing jobs and the 20,000 new jobs soon to materialise. I've got no doubt that over time the level of subsidy required would reduce significantly and would ultimately become a commercially viable service supporting the East Midlands economy. I'm currently awaiting the Mayor's response. Thank you, Madam Chair.
We have completed the 15 minutes allowed for this item. All remaining speeches fall and can be resubmitted for the next meeting. Item 7, presentation of petitions. I was notified of 8 petitions by the deadline. May I remind members there is 1 minute time limit for the presentation of each petition, and there is a maximum time limit of 15 minutes for this item. I call on Councillor Green to present your petition regarding road safety issues on Long Hill Rise, Kirkby and Ashfield.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to congratulate my colleagues and also across the council. Well done. I'm delighted to stand here today to serve the people of Kirkby South. They are the most phenomenal, hard-working, honest people. I was quite astounded to see that, as you can see in these pictures around here, that previous councillors decided to ignore such issues as speeding around Long Hill Rise, where a man lost thousands of pounds of his house, repairs and his car. So I'm just honoured to listen to them, to hear of their struggles of cars speeding, cars cutting around the corners. I want to thank Via for all their hard work of spray painting the lines again and working with me so closely and swiftly. So this is for the family, I won't name them, but this is for you. This is what we're meant to do, getting things done fastly, and it's an honour. Can I just lastly ask all people in this chamber to have a bit of decorum and respect for people speaking as well? Thank you.
I call on Councillor Lee to present your petition requesting the introduction of weight restrictions on Horton Lane and neighbouring roads.
Chairman, thank you very much. As the elected member for Balderton Division, we have done so much work in the area, from spending £150,000 on the resurfacing of Wilfred Avenue, Lansbury Road and Mount Street. Now, these roads were brand new resurfaced just before the election. Now, I would have got the weight restrictions in at that time, but we didn't know when the new Summer Link Road was going to open. We've now found out last week that the new Summer Link Road that we invested in here of nearly £3 million to bring that roadworks forward will be opening in September. So it now means, now we know we have an open date for the Summer Link Road. It makes sense protecting that investment that this council did from putting weight restrictions in, because there's now an alternative route that is designed for HGVs. Thank you, Chairman.
I call on Councillor Butler to present your petition regarding road safety improvements following a tragic fatal crash on Cotgrave Road, Tollerton.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Well, I have a petition signed by 59 residents, along with other residents in Tollerton, with 3 letters from families calling for urgent traffic calming measures on Cotgrave Road following a deeply concerning history of traffic-related fatalities and serious accidents. Over the last 20 years, 5 lives have been lost in 3 separate incidents, including 3 fatalities in May of this year. In addition, numerous other collisions have occurred, resulting in serious injuries, property damage, and ongoing community distress. Residents and commuters alike continue to express fear for their safety, especially for pedestrians, cyclists, children, elderly members of the community, and indeed other motorists. They believe that this situation is unacceptable and requires immediate and decisive action. It's a very, very concerning situation. I use that road virtually every day. I'm surprised there haven't been more accidents, to be honest. So anything we can do will be much appreciated. Thank you.
I call on Councillor Lawton to present your petition regarding speeding traffic on Station Lane in Mansfield.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. This is Station Lane in Mansfield. It has the cricket club on it, the pharmacy, and it's being used as a rat run, really, and it's getting quite dangerous over a period of time. It's one of those things that creeps up on you over the years. And the residents have signed a petition, 300 signatures. They've actually come up with some solutions as well to help veer along the way to be able to solve their issues.
Councillor Lawton, can we just listen to the end of your speech, because you walked away from the microphone and perhaps everyone...
So the process is you should continue walking while you are handing in. Oh no! I agree with no. Tell you how it used to be. Changing process.
I think you may be mistaken, but I'll accept. I call on Councillor Sam Smith to present your petition regarding the resurfacing of Balderton Main Street.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. A few years ago, Councillor John O'Lee and I had the bridge on Main Street resurfaced in Balderton. At the time, the Main Street itself, which is the heart of the community, the church is off there, the shops are off there, more importantly, the pub is off there. And at the time we got the bridge resurfaced, Main Street was in a good condition. It's now absolutely terrible. It shakes you about no matter what point of Main Street you travel on. So we're submitting a petition signed by nearly 100 residents asking for the County Council to resurface it as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
I call on Councillor Introna to present your petition regarding parking issues in the vicinity of Union Street, Retford.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to all our new members. This is a petition raised and signed by the majority of households on Union Street, Retford, asking for a complete review of an existing parking permit scheme, as the existing scheme has become unfit for purpose. Union Street is located close to Retford town centre and has a single point of entry and egress. Additional properties and businesses are now in receipt of resident permits and visitor permits, making it impossible for actual residents to find parking spaces at times. New properties, including almshouses, which were stated in the planning application as not requiring passers, add to this problem. The residents have, along with my support, approached the Highways NCC team for support well over a year ago, and despite a number of visits, we are still awaiting constructive feedback on proposals. The residents ask that this parking permit scheme is formally reviewed and to be resolved in a more timely manner. Thank you very much.
I call on Councillor Russell Dodd to present your petition requesting the installation of a two-can crossing on Priorsville Road Worksop.
Thank you very much, Lady Chair. Priorsville Road in Worksop sees a great deal of foot traffic, especially from families and children visiting the award-winning Green Flag Canch Park. This popular location features a splash park and is a beloved space for recreation enjoyed by many in the community. The opposite side of Priorsville Road hosts Bracebridge Recreational Field, which accommodates travelling fun fairs twice a year, a travelling circus, and a variety of other community events across the 12 months. The current lack of a safe crossing point on this stretch of road poses a significant risk to pedestrians, particularly children and individuals with disabilities who need to cross between the Cant Park and the events field. A toucan crossing is an ideal solution for ensuring pedestrian safety in this area. Unlike traditional crossings, a toucan crossing allows both pedestrians and cyclists to cross together, making it a versatile and comprehensive safety feature. Installing such a crossing on Priorswell Road would not only enhance safety, but also encourage more families and cyclists to frequent these community spaces with peace of mind. Thank you very much.
I call on Councillor Teresa Cullen to present your petition regarding the impact of LGR on Broxtowe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a petition signed by just under 1,000 residents of Beeston in Broxtowe, asking for them to be able to have their say in local government reorganisation. I think it's something that the council's considering, and lots of people are having lots of meetings about it. The residents of Broxtowe very keenly want to have their say about it. So I'm happy to present this petition to you today.
I ask the Council to resolve that the petitions be referred to the appropriate Cabinet members for consideration. A report will be brought back to the Council in due course in accordance with the standing orders. All those in favour? Thank you. Thank you. It's unanimous. Item 8, membership of committees. I call upon Councillor Barton, who will move the recommendations in the addendum report.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to thank you for the report, and I would like to move the recommendations set out in the report. Thank you.
I call upon Councillor Martin Wright, who will second the motion.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to second that and reserve the right to speak. Thank you.
I will now open the debate. If we have no speakers, so Councillor Martin Wright has reserved his right to speak. Would you like to speak now?
Nothing further to say, Chair.
I call upon Councillor Barton for your right of reply.
I have nothing further to say, Madam Chairman.
I will now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. That's the outcome. Item 9. Members' Allowance Scheme. This is the report of the Independent Remuneration Panel. I call upon Councillor Barton to introduce the reports and move the recommendation. Councillor Barton to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I welcome the report from the IRP and would like to thank the panel for their time in the meeting with senior members from each of the council's political groups, including myself. The panel's report is attached in an annex to cover the report and makes a total of 21 recommendations. The panel proposes a revised members' allowance scheme to capture those recommendations. The financial implications section under the cover of the report highlights the special responsibility allowances savings of over £100,000, which were partly due to results of the May election, but also due to a reduction in the number of deputy cabinet member roles, which this ruling group has chosen to implement. Whilst recognising those overall savings, my group cannot support the proposed increase in special responsibility allowance for the positions of the deputy leader of the group of the business manager and the main minority group. In moving the cover reports to recommendations, I am therefore proposing that an alteration to recommendation 2 of the cover report that proposes scheme be agreed subject to the removal of an increase in allowances for the positions of deputy leader and group business manager of the main minority group. I move the recommendations.
I call upon Councillor Martin Wright, who will second the motion.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to second the motion and reserve the right. Thank you.
So, members, on behalf of the Chairman, you've heard that the Leader of the Council, in moving the report, has proposed an alteration to the recommendations. We'll take a brief pause while colleagues here hand out the revised wording to the recommendations, and then we'll take a view on how to proceed next. Bear with us.
Yeah, that was fine.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
I wish to open the debate now. So, Councillor Wheeler, you speak, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman. Obviously, it's quite disappointing to see this put in front of us today with no consultation with the group. You know, under our leadership, there was always consultation in business managers of all groups before items. I think it sets a dangerous precedent going forwards. I think what's also dangerous precedent is that the independent panel put these recommendations together. The reason we have an independent panel is to take the politics out of it and to put in recommendations based on evidence and evidence put forwards. In terms of course, it does affect Allowances and I guess, as well as Councillor Lawton, but it was recognised by the panel that the weighting had been put in incorrectly for the position we have. So it's not about in our position now. I could be out my position tomorrow, as could Councillor Lawton. Obviously, 10, 11 members of the rolling administration might see the light and come and join us, and we might be rolling the group, and then it'd be themselves in those positions and have those allowances. So it's not about individual people here, and I think it really sends that dangerous message. And I think also, if you look at the putting forwards, you can herald £100,000 saving. Actually, if you have deputy cabinet members in position who are actually tasked to do the job correctly and to look at savings for over £100,000 and deliver for this council, you'd actually be saving money for the council, not just making a grand statement that might get you some headlines for a few moments. And we saw our previous administration, the leader of our group started as deputy cabinet member and ended up leading the council. We saw many people who started deputy cabinet members, including myself, who ended up in senior positions. So if I was some members of the Reform Group officer, I'd be quite disappointed they're not trusted by their leader in terms of those roles going forwards. So as a group, we're going to be voting against the recommendations because of the dangerous precedent it sets in terms of ignoring the independent panel, which, by the way, this council spent money to put together that panel. So again, we talk about savings to administration. They've just wasted money by having an independent panel. to bring those people in for the day to have that discussion, it's just going to ignore what they put forward. So again, all we're seeing so far is the Reform Administration is spending more money and having an idea how to save it, apart from some platitudes. And again, they say the £100,000 saving. There's nothing to stop the leader appointing people to those positions tomorrow. So it's not really a saving at the moment. It's just to put this for a fancy report for a headline going forwards. Also, although I wasn't going to speak on this was supposed to be a positive thing to say because I've got no opportunity to say it elsewhere. Being in opposition, unfortunately, means that we do lose some of our support members of staff that we've had over the years. And so, as a group, we want to pay tribute to Claire Rankin and Carl Bilby, who have served this council and our group for decades. And as those politicians, we know we run the risk we could lose our seats and lose our position over 4 years. Dedicated members of staff unfortunately lose their positions as a result of what happens electorally. But again, they gave dedicated service, and even Carl is still working today, still up late writing speeches for us, and again putting as much effort in as he always has done, which pays tribute to the man himself, and as Claire did up until her last day. So again, thank you, Chairman. We will be voting against.
Councillor Gowland.
Thank you. We welcome this amendment. We recognise the importance of independent recommendations, but we believe that this would have been asked for by the Tory group, and we think it's a bit rich that they're suggesting that because they're the major group, they need this extra support. We have been the opposition recently, and we know it's possible to do this in that budget, so get your house in order. And as the smaller opposition group, I'm sure with the other opposition groups, we will be holding you to account, of course, as you expect us to, and we will be. We don't need you to tell us that you're going to do it for us. I'd also like to talk about the lack of support for the for us. You've lost some of yours. We have none. The small groups, and this was recognised in this report. It's not a matter of this debate, but I just want to note that it is difficult. And I think it's actually putting extra work onto democratic services because, of course, they have to sort of manage our trying to sort things out without any administrative support. I would like to pay tribute to our researcher who we've lost, Tyler, who was with us for a short period and made a big impact, but in particular to Sally Jury. I think a lot of people across the council know her. She's been with the council for 40 years, and it's really sad that the council's losing her and all the knowledge that she had about the workings of the council. But we would support this recommendation.
Councillor Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know about anyone else to the left or right and behind me in this council. I'm quite shocked, really, that the art of service is you don't do it for anything but for the love to serve. You do it because you want to do it. You do it because you care. So my question out loud is, I'm curious. I'm not doubting it, but I'm curious to know what a couple of grand or so each is going to impact your life when actually it could be much better spent for the people out there that need it. I certainly don't need it. I'm giving back the £400 increase in my allowance. I quit my job to do this. I don't want the money. I don't need the money. Money is a vehicle. It's important, but we should live to our means. And I don't mean to poke, but we were kind of versed with the Noden principles just this last chamber by a particular member. And if you look at the first three of them, it talks about what is right.
Yeah.
And so I question out loud to speak to your heart, not what your mind says, what your heart says. Is it right? Is it justifiable, what you want? And the reason why we blocked it, if you look around to my left, these colleagues froze their salary. We choose to freeze. Why aren't you doing the same? Thank you.
Councillor Doddy.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I feel quite humbled by Rory and his profession of doing the better good rather than looking at it from a financial point of view. I found it quite an amazingly detailed report, probably one of the most detailed reports that I've seen and read. And looking historically back when it said that it started in 2000 when they looked at the average salary of the average person in Nottinghamshire, 23,000, and they halved that salary. And then they said that's 11 and a bit thousand. And then they said some of it, like Rory would say, that's goodwill. We'll take that 1,000 off and we'll bring it down to 10,000. And they looked at the amount of hours that the average councillor did within Nottinghamshire, and it was put at 22.4 hours. That's the type of average commitment that the average councillor expected to do in a week. And in 2000, they put that down as a figure of £10,000. Now, obviously, with staff rises throughout the years, it's gotten up to the level it is at now, and we sort of support that progression through time is an important thing. One of the things that's been pointed out quite clearly is the money that can be saved by combining posts. And sometimes people say, well, are those posts being well served? And I myself, as the deputy leader, happen to have 12 years or thereabouts as the chair of the Health and Wellbeing Board, was able to hit the ground running, never lost a single meeting, never lost a single moment of progress in protecting the health and wellbeing of the population of Nottinghamshire, and in doing so saved the County Council £23,814 by combining the Health and Wellbeing Board with the Deputy Leader. And I think it's a role that I've enhanced rather than taking anything away from. So when these opportunities exist, then I think it's brilliant of the leader to recognise those opportunities and to deal with them. Do I think that we haven't got greater challenges coming down the line? Do I think that our extra responsibility through the East Midlands Combined Counties Authority will not drag us away for very many years? Sorry, I'm happy for you to interrupt.
This room is not really designed as a council chamber. If you're going to turn and face this way, you need to put your microphone up.
Thanks very much. A badly designed building. Well, I mean, many people have said that before you. We could give thanks to Councillor Gerling and his team for that.
Yeah. I'm moving, Chair, so we can't.
I'm going to say that down the line, there will be greater responsibilities in councils coming forward. And that may, Rory, mean that we have to look at ways of reimbursing things through East Midlands Combined Counties Authority, which could practically suck your life away and just pull you away to meeting after meeting after meeting. So there is an element of balance there. Myself and the leader tomorrow are going to the East Midlands councils, and at the last meeting deputising for the leader, I brought up this exact point, that will East Midlands Council, representing 40 councils, come together and start to represent us as a body through independent review panels, so as that we don't end up trying to mix and match and not have a uniformity over the 40 councils. And I'll bring it up again tomorrow. But yes, I think that there's good and bad in everything. I think we've tread the ground that best serves the people, and I'm delighted that we're saving the people of Nottinghamshire £100,000. Thank you very much.
Councillor Lee.
Chairman, thank you. I've been around politics for 15 years and I've been involved in these panels for a long time. And what they do when they're deciding how much people get paid is they look at how hard work they do and what they do and what they bring to the council. That's the great thing about an independent panel. You tell them what you do and then they decide what you decide to get. Every time I come to the county council and the car park's empty, barring from 3 cars, it's usually our members that are in the car park in the office speaking to officers, holding you to account, attending meetings, because you're not attending meetings, are you? You're not. And we are working hard for our residents. And if an independent panel says that they think that councillors need to get paid more money, then you either, something that we've always done for every council I've ever worked at, is you either take it in full or you take it not at all. And if you are saying that the independent panel is wrong, then are they wrong in all of it? Or are they just wrong in the bit that you don't like? I don't know. Only you will know that. But what I know is, and they can't say this, I can say this, is the truth of the matter is Bruce, Jonathan and Sam are in the office nearly every single day working for residents and working for us on this side. I don't see your cars there. I thought you didn't want to work from home.
Councillor Cullen, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Independent Remuneration, I can never say that word, panel, is independent for a reason. And I've been a councillor for a long time, and I think it's the wrong move to vote against something that an independent body has carefully considered and said they think this should be right. Having said that, I think, and you know, other members in this room will probably know this, it's extremely hard work, and you're very lucky to have your officers working with you to help you to do your job as a councillor. We in the smallest opposition group, small but mighty, and our Labour colleagues, we don't meet the threshold to have any support. So with my lowest councillor allowance, because I've no special responsibility allowances, I'm having to use some of my own money to employ an officer to help us to do our administration. And I think, you know, well, first of all, I'll say I need 5 to make the threshold. So if any of you are feeling like you were elected to the wrong group, my door, like the leader's door, is always open. I've got the smallest group room in County Hall, but it's very welcoming, and we have biscuits and chocolate. And if you're feeling like you were elected to the wrong group and you could hang out with us, come to see me. We can make our 5 up, we can have some help, and I can save some money. But I think I stand here with experience, and I say in my experience, we shouldn't vote against the recommendation of an independent panel, and therefore we won't. But I do think the special responsibility allowances should be re-examined in the light of this council, which has smaller opposition groups who also need help. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councillor Cox, please.
Madam Chair, may I respectfully decline the offer to join the parties, despite the chocolate thing. It beggars belief that whilst families across the county are tightening the belts and wondering how to stretch every penny, we now hear that the Conservatives leadership are asking for a pay rise. Now, let me be absolutely clear with this.
Point of clarification, Madam Chairman. Just a point of clarification, please. This is nothing to do with politicians asking for their own money. It's an independent panel. The independent panel recommendations are in the papers in front of you. Not our recommendations, not yours. It's the independent panels.
Point of order. Paragraph 33 says the leadership team of the main opposition group also put forward the argument that the main opposition spokesgroups should be better rewarded.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I was going to just bring that up on point 33 on page 33, where the leader of the opposition did ask for the increase. Contrast. So let me have this really clear, first of all, that this is the same party that has overseen the rising in taxes, crumbling services and a cost of living crisis of their own making, and yet they believe they've earned a bonus. Really? Contrast that with reform. We've already managed to save the county £100,000, not by cutting corners, but by cutting waste, by being accountable, transparent, and putting the taxpayers first. This isn't just a difference in policy, it's a difference in principle. While the Conservatives reach for the money, Reform are reaching for results. We don't ask for more, we do more, and we're doing it for less.
Councillor Bestwick.
In that case, I think we are to not.
So Councillor Martin Wright has received his right to speak. Would you like to speak now?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I would. I can understand the disappointment from the two gentlemen concerned, the deputy leader and the business manager, at not getting, well, maybe not getting, depending how the vote goes. But let's cut to the quick. You asked for a pay rise. You asked for a pay rise saying that you've got more responsibilities now. Now you've got 18 members instead of 34. I just can't understand that. You may not have got the vice chair seats on scrutiny, but that's got nothing to do with the price of chips, has it? It's nothing to do with it.
Point of order, Madam Chairman. Councillor Wright, you weren't in that room. That's not the word that was used. As I just said in my speech before, it was saying that the weighting was incorrect as percentages, which is what it's not fairly reckoned in the report, but that was what was said. And like I say, we did not put forward the recommendation for it. That's what came forward from the independent panel. So you weren't in the room, Councillor Wright, so you can't say what we said in that room.
I'm only quoting from the report. That's what the report says. The report says you went in there asking for a certain amount and they didn't think you deserved it anyway and they gave you less. This is a recommendation.
Point of order, Madam Chairman. He was not in the room. The facts are that it was recognised by this group that the percentages, as far as the remuneration panel were concerned, were incorrect. They were wrong. And in a year's time, I may well get thrown out as the deputy leader. I stand for election every year. Sorry?
Councillor.
Sorry, I can't hear you very well. So as a result, to say that we were asking for an increase is absolutely incorrect. What we were asking for was the percentages to be made fair. And had we been aware of this...
Sit down.
Disrespect to the chair, Madam Chair.
Total disrespect to the chair.
Can't disrespect the chair. Carry on. I'll take on board what Councillor Lawton says, but I'll also take on board what the ILP says. The ILP made a recommendation. We choose not. What was your attitude to the Labour group when they were in opposition last time? 15 of them, wasn't there?
Had we known, we would have changed it.
Oh dear. Brilliant. I don't think you need to say anymore.
I think you need to listen and let other people make their point first before interfering.
Nothing more to say, Chair.
Thank you. I call upon Councillor Barton for your right of reply. Councillor Barton.
I've got nothing more to say. I'm just going to put the recommendations forward, Madam Chairman. That the recommendations of the IRP be noted and that the proposed revised councillors' allowance scheme as detailed in Appendix 2 to the IRP report be approved with the exception of the recommendation changes of the level of special responsibility allowances for the deputy leader and business manager of the main minority group so that the allowance of these positions remains at 24%. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
I will now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour?
Everybody bar them. Madam Chair. You need to vote.
Yeah.
And the outcome of the vote is 39 for, 19 against, and 2 abstentions. The vote is carried. Item 10. As set out in the Constitution, the leader has provided an executive report. The leader will move the receipt of the report for noting and may make a short statement introducing it. No other members may speak on this item and no amendment can be tabled. I call upon Councillor Mick Barton.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This report seeks to update members on various matters relating to my role as the leader of this council. First of all, I've been involved, obviously, in the local reorganisation. I've attended weekly meetings to discuss the LGR. I feel we need to progress the LGR as soon as we can as a council, and I also recognise the importance of this work in the government's timescales. We were passed this baton by the previous administration, along with a very tight time schedule, to develop a full evidence-based proposal outlining each individual criteria set by the government is addressed. On the 3rd of June 2025, this council received government feedback on the interim plans that were agreed by the previous administration on 20th of March 2025, which will help in the developing of the final proposal due for submission on the 28th of November 2025. Discussions have been ongoing, and this feedback with officers and looking for options can be moved forward in the near future. The LGA Reform UK Deputy Group Leader, I was delighted to have been selected to the new Deputy Group Leader on the Local Government Association for the Reform UK Group. It is an absolute pleasure and a privilege for Reform UK to choose me to be the Deputy Leader. I'm also very pleased to be supporting our Group Leader and Vice Chair of the LGA, Stephen Atkinson, who is Leader of the Durham County Council. I look forward to leading political engagement and networking opportunities, and I intend to be visible in the role and engage with as many councillors as possible. The LGA Conference, Liverpool. I attended the LGA Conference, annual conference in Liverpool with my portfolio holder for finance and resources, Councillor Stuart Matthews. We had a great couple of days networking. I enjoyed meeting my colleagues from across the country to discuss challenges of local government that are facing and identifying opportunities we have now, and we learn from each other and work together for the improvements for our residents, which we serve. Election results. I would like to congratulate Councillor Gaynor Mann and David Smith for their success in recent deferred election for the Mansfield North Division, where they managed to win 60% of the votes in the division. I would also like to welcome them to their first county council meeting. I would also like to congratulate Keith Girling with a successful candidate in the Newark West by-election held on the 3rd of July, and extend a warm welcome to this first meeting of this new administration. East Midlands Combined County Authority, EMCA for short. Several cabinet members have taken up positions on EMCA board and committees, and I am pleased to share with members that I've been appointed chair of the Transport and Digital Connectivity Committee. Now that Cabinet has approved the priority areas and activity for this council to promote through our work with EMCA, colleagues and I will work collectively to drive forward the delivery of those priorities for the benefit of all our residents across the county. Cabinet held its first official meeting on the 23rd of June 2025. Cabinet working groups have been set up to undertake an highways review, commence the efficiency review, and a review and refresh of the council's strategic plan. This work is now underway. Cabinet also approved the priority areas for the collaboration for the council to develop with EMCA, which we will be doing over the next coming months. Meeting with other authorities. I have had meetings with several leaders and chief executives from councils all over the council and key partners across Nottinghamshire to discuss how we can build our existing relationships and work collaboratively to improve outcomes for our communities. Armed Forces Day. On the 23rd of June, I was delighted to attend the flag raising ceremony outside the County Hall, led by our chairman of the County Council. It was our pleasure to host the reception that followed, honouring the fallen, the families, the veterans and the cadets. I am pleased to see such a good attendance and will meet the Lord Lieutenant Veronica Pickering, and also of all our armed forces representatives. I'm very grateful for the unique role that Royal British Legion played, particularly the standard bearers, to make this such a special event. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
I call upon Councillor John Doddy to second the motion.
Second the motion, with no need to reserve the right to speak.
Thank you. This to note report has been received by the Chamber. Questions to the Leader of the Council on the Executive Report. There are no questions to the Leader on the Executive Report that have been submitted this time. Questions to the Leader, Cabinet Members and Committee Chairmen. As set out in the Constitution, we have 60 minutes remaining for questions to the Leader, Cabinet Members and Committee Chairmen, after which any remaining questions will receive a written response. There will be a maximum of one supplementary question, which must be from the member who asked the original question. The supplementary question should be on the same matter and should be in the form of a question, not a statement. I have received notification of 15 questions. Question 1. I call on Councillor Sam Smith to ask your question regarding the questions at Council.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you for the report, Leader of the Council. Whilst I welcome the Leader of the Council's open door policy for councillors wishing to raise issues, which I believe is genuine in spirit, to be honest, does the Leader appreciate that not all issues can be resolved in offices? And would the Leader acknowledge that an important part of the political and democratic process is for Cabinet Members and Committee Chairmen to be challenged in public, whether that be in full council or other council meetings, by all councillors from all groups, whether that's the leading group or oppositions groups, to be asking questions, and they've always existed on the council agendas. Members of previous administrations will attest that the questions agenda item can be sometimes uncomfortable, requiring Cabinet Members and committee chairs to demonstrate a robust grasp of their brief. But would the Leader agree that this is an integral part of the discipline of overseeing a multi-million-pound budget at this senior level of local government, and it's also good for the public to know what's happening? Thank you, Madam Chair.
I call on Councillor Barton to reply.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your question, Councillor Smith. Questions are an important part of the agenda for full council, particularly for backbench and opposition members, to give them the opportunity to ask questions of Cabinet Members and committee chairs on issues that are important to them and their communities and residents. There are several opportunities at full council for opposition and backbench members to raise issues which will affect them locally and that they are particularly interested in. This includes submissions of petitions, constituency speeches, questions, submitting a motion, as well as debating other matters bringing forward, like formal reports. Now that the council system are in other ways, raising issues and exploring specific services in more detail, that's scrutiny. I would reiterate that my door is always open for councillors from any political party, and I will be happy to talk to them at any time, any place about any issue. Thank you.
Councillor Smith, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Leader, for that question. Totally agree of those processes that exist. Can we just have commitment to the Chamber today that all those processes you've highlighted, whether that be questions, constituency speeches, petitions, scrutiny meetings, will continue under your leadership? Thank you.
Yes, I see no reason why not.
Fine.
Sorry.
It's okay. I call on question 2. I call on Councillor Wilmot to ask your question, to ask your question regarding pothole repairs. Councillor Wilmot to speak.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman, and congratulations to all the new members. Hope you have a happy time here at this lovely council. Can I say, as we all know, the state of our roads and pavements are a concern to us all. And my question is, what is the reason for potholes on our roads and streets having to be continually repaired for a second and third time so soon after the initial resurfacing? Does this not put up the cost of maintenance to our roads to an unacceptable level? Thank you, Chairman.
I call on Councillor Bingham to reply.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Wilmot. I'm afraid you're going to have to look at my back because you're right behind me and I can't face the microphone. Yeah, we've inherited a £400 million underinvestment of that order in the Highways Department, as you know. That's a national problem. It's not just here in Nottinghamshire. And we've also we've also inherited a road maintenance programme, which we haven't actually changed anything at the moment, so it's continuing as was. You've asked about the, if you like, the state of repairs. They are graded from emergency repairs, short-term repairs, through to long-term resurfacing and everything in between. We are reviewing everything that is happening, and we'll be looking at new technologies and everything else, but we are looking at the operations. I've been out on site reviewing via repairing roads and also been to their depot once, but the working group will be going there next week and we will be reporting back in about October with our findings. So thank you for your question. But you also asked, by the way, what is the reason? It's not just the investment and the nature of the work that we do. It's got to do with freeze thaw in the winter. It's got to do with underinvestment in cleaning culverts, so you ended up with flooded roads. It's got to do with, excuse me, the weight of battery-powered cars, the cumulative impact on roads. So there are many, many issues involved that we will be looking at and endeavouring to improve value for money for the taxpayer. Thank you.
Councillor Wilmot, do you have a supplementary question?
I do, Madam Chairman, I do. If you accept that repairs to our roads are done to an unacceptable level, which is proved by the continual operation of having to repair many potholes over and over again, who is being brought to task on this issue?
I call on Councillor Bingham to reply.
Yeah, you say if I accept, I've just explained the situation that repairs are graded, surveyors go out, they will rank repairs and the type of repairs all relate to the condition of the road. Something that is severe and is likely to cause an accident, risk to life basically, will be treated more important than a small pothole in a side street. I'm not saying that's correct. What we are looking to do is get a right first time approach to these repairs. That's what will be picked up in the review. Thank you.
Question 3. I call on Councillor Vernon to ask your question regarding highways maintenance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I start, because it fits into the question, by thanking all the opposition for making my election so much easier. Every door I knocked on, there was a question about the roads, the repairs that hadn't been done, the potholes. So I'll put my question now to Councillor Burt. Reform UK has been elected on a strong mandate to sort out the roads in the county. Can Councillor Bingham confirm the status of the decision-making process to deliver on that promise, please?
I call on Councillor Bingham to reply.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, as I said, we have now commissioned a highways review. There's a cabinet working group appointed. That cabinet working group will be going out via East Midlands next week. And we've already scoped the report. We'll be looking at every aspect. It'll be technical, operational, legal, financial, and we'll be reporting back about October time is the deadline at the moment. That work has commenced and will be ongoing. We're working very well with officers in that regard. There's a good relationship there, and very good, excellent, I have to say, working relationship. And I've had my first visit to via East Midlands, which I thought was a very professional operation. I was impressed with what I saw. That's at a high level. We've got to get into the detail. We'll be reporting back in October. Thank you very much for your question.
Councillor Vernon, do you have a supplementary question?
I do, Madam Chair. Would the Cabinet member also elaborate, please, on the status of the Capital Road project in the county?
I call on Councillor Bingham to reply.
Thank you. Yes, there is we've inherited again a situation with a budget both for capital programme and for the revenue account repair type work. That's ongoing. With the actual investment, a lot of that is going to be tied up with MCA going forward. There's, as you know, it's been announced publicly, there are large tranches of money for us to play for there, and we will be pitching very strongly for that with the support again of the whole council, including officers where we have that good working relationship. I think there's not a lot more that I can say on that at the moment. There has been some breaking news on one particular capital project, but I think that's picked up in a later question, and I will answer that then. So thank you very much. Councillor Burns.
Question 4. I call on Councillor Pearson to ask your question regarding the SEND provision.
Thank you very, very much, Madam Chair. On the 3rd of May 2025, Nottinghamshire Live quoted Deputy Leader Councillor Doddy as saying, "Everybody knows we've got tremendous challenges with special educational needs and disabilities, but they're not happy with the speed at which we deal with autism. They're not happy with how we deal with attention deficit disorders. These problems are legion, but they're not new. What we're bringing is a new way of dealing with these problems, and that's what we've been asked to do. For the benefit of the thousands of parents and carers of children and young people in Nottinghamshire with diagnoses of autism, ADHD and other special educational needs, could the relevant Cabinet member clarify what this new way of dealing with these problems will be, what changes are being proposed, and how they will impact on the level and type of support currently delivered through education, health and care plans by the County Council? Thank you.
I call on Councillor John to reply.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank Councillor Pearson for his question. I think the residents of Nottinghamshire have the right to know what progress we're making in Nottinghamshire County Council. And I also invite him, if you would like to join me in visiting some of the great schools at Bingham East, that would be grand. I mean, there are some exceptional schools in Rushcliffe, as you might know. So since May, we've seen 47%. Well, we've surpassed that actually in terms of surpassing the national benchmark presented, which is 45.9%. For attaining testing in 20 weeks for ECHPs. Secondly, I'd say that the investment in education psychology has been exceptional. So we've gone from 18 to 27 educational psychologists, and that is also with 4 in training, which is a great improvement on our services. And we expect further investment, hopefully to come from the August white paper being published by the Department of Education. One of the things that we will be building on, which is the inclusion surgeries for inclusion support services and access to digital resources for families. That is all connected in with family hubs. And also I would say that we have in the Children and Families Department, specifically to education, has taken much time in evaluating the self-evaluation system in being able to collect exceptional data, which has been nationally recognised by the SHJ Award for Best Practice. So I want to congratulate the council on that nomination. In terms of new, which is getting more to your question, we believe within new administration does bring new ideas, innovative ways of working, and so myself and working closely with Councillor Green are particularly keen on working with the issues surrounding oversubscribed schools. Now, that has been an ongoing issue for some years, and that is something we would like to look into, especially in my division in Langold, where Dayscard Community, through the Shine Academy Trust, their children in year 1 are having to move up to year 2, or in order to expand to meet their needs, and that obviously puts a knock-on impact on catering to children within the SND within that school. Another way of working is a new form of partnership work, which is with the local Senkos and schools. So as a county council, we want to be able to develop on those relationships, strengthening our connection with our maintained schools, and so that we can better respond to issues on the ground. Working towards also the Department of Education's mandate for mainstream inclusion. As you know, that's been a big push for the last year, but it's going to be even more so with the release of the white paper in August. More connected training for SEND services. So we're hoping to formulate a partnership similar to what we have in safeguarding in order to ensure that best practice is across the board, highlighting national reforms and the best of research for education and SEND. And also, I would say, involving our residents more. That's something that I'm extremely keen on doing, is engaging with our residents through the parent carers forum. So being able to expand that, to hear their voices, listening, learning and working together is essential for improving the lives of our families and the children as well. And so, and that will be done through the family hubs. I mean, we're already working in the family hubs with early intervention. So I think, yeah, we're just building upon that. So that's going to be exciting things. I'd say, like, overall, Councillor Pearson, we have made significant progress, I would say, but there is much more to do. And in that area, we have plans that we are definitely looking into, as stated, in order to expand on that. So thank you.
Councillor Pearson, do you have a supplementary question?
I do. I'd like to thank you very much for your answer. What I would just like to ask is that if there are going to be major changes, will there be a process of consultation involving professionals who have heavy knowledge of SEND and also parents? And will there be a timeline available for that when that's being considered?
And so, just for a point of clarification, when you say consultation, is that for the parents, for the children, the ECHPs, or sorry?
Both.
Oh, for both. Okay. Well, we have specialists assigned to the ECHP process who do vet and advise parents in terms of whether, for a start, ECHPs are needed, or whether, if the child has further complexities with disabilities, to proceed with that procedure. So hopefully, I mean, we've just seen an increase in that area with staffing, so hopefully that should suffice, but we will, of course, review that in due course. Hopefully that answers your question.
Question 5. I call on Councillor Dodd to ask you a question regarding land at White Hills in Broxtowe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's been noted that nearly 18 hectares of land at White Hills in Broxtowe have been sold to Miller Homes, with the majority of the proceeds being used to fund a new secondary school. Can the Cabinet member explain what other benefits, if any, this sale will bring to the area or wider community?
Thank you, Councillor Dodd. This is one of, if not the largest deal in the council's history, and I've been pleased to work closely with officers to help deliver it. The sale of land at White Hills will fund a much-needed new secondary school, which is a major investment in children's futures. But the benefits do go further. New homes, better infrastructure and stronger local amenities for Broxtowe. It also brings a significant capital receipt, helping us invest in services without increasing pressure on taxpayers. It's a clear example of how we can unlock value from public assets to deliver real lasting benefits for our communities.
Councillor Dodd, do you have a supplementary question?
No supplementary questions. Thank you.
Question 6. I call on Councillor Mason to ask your question regarding ill health in women.
Thank you, Chair. My question is to the Chairman of the Health and Wellbeing Board. What are the challenges currently faced by women in Nottinghamshire that condemn them to live longer in ill health than men?
I call on Councillor Doddy to reply. Councillor Doddy to speak.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you to Councillor Cathy Mason for asking the question of the situation with regards to women's health in Nottinghamshire. I can say that the answer to that question could last many days, and there have been many conferences the world over dealing with the challenges of women's health, and it would be quite difficult to confine it to a short period of time, but I shall do my absolute best in order to do that. One might say, where did this question come from? Why are we asking the question now, Cathy? And the reality is that the Director of Public Health has a responsibility statutorily, government given, that person should once a year provide a public health report on an area of concern. That area should be highlighted, people should be made aware of it, and changes should be made as a result of the findings of that report. Some of you who've been here as long as I have will remember previous reports like Jonathan Gribbin talking about knife crime. That was his big interest at that time. And last year it was severe multiple disadvantaged people. There are people who've got drug problems, have been in jail, have mental health problems, live on the street, and have this cacophony of severe multiple disorders that provide them a particularly vulnerable way of living and existing. And that was last year's one. And to focus on this particular question, this year's one was about women's health. I have to admire the Director of Public Health on taking on such a wide-ranging topic, and it would be far easier to hone in on one topic, but there was a great passion in the Public Health Department when they set about doing this, and they were enormously proud of the work that they produced at the end of that. In order to get to that position, they sent out a number of questions. Over 900, nearly 1,000 replies came back into the department. And any of us who've ever sent a questionnaire out in the history of politics or medicine, etc., find getting even a half a dozen replies are good. So this is real evidence coming from real people in Nottinghamshire, nearly 1,000 replies. That's not the consulted people, that's the replies. And I have to thank them. That was an enormous thing. There's an enormous number of face-to-face consultations, asking people directly what their concerns for their health are, what their worries are, what their barriers are to being healthy. And then there was a meta-analysis. we in the council have what's called a joint strategic needs assessment. We have 42 live joint strategic needs assessments on the Nottinghamshire Insight page. All of those reflect things going on in all of your communities. And I would say to you that if at any stage you ever want to know something about your area, be it homelessness, be it childhood poverty, etc., this is the single greatest source of that information. And I would welcome and encourage every single one of you to go on and look at your areas and look at the various challenges, autism, ADHD, etc. So that is part of the normal work of health and well-being. The normal work of public health is to keep a register, like a joint strategic needs, of the big challenges that exist in health to the people of Nottinghamshire. In this particular instance, it was refining that to a degree to women's health. If you can call refining 840,000 people down to 440,000, it's not exactly a laser guided thing. It's an enormous population of people. Women make up 51% of the population of Nottinghamshire. The other 49 are men. In terms of the findings, what did they actually find? What did they find when it was done? I can see Councillor Smith sitting on the edge of his chair there, waiting to see what did they find. And of course, that's the whole essence of the question. That's why I was asked the question. And I apologise if it's taken a little bit long to get to that point in time. But it's worth waiting. In terms of life expectancy, the average life expectancy of a man in Nottinghamshire is something like 79, and the average life expectancy of a woman is around 83. Now, since time immemorial, since records began, year after year after year, the life expectancy of men and women have continued to increase, except for the last couple of years, when it's plateaued. When that normal expectancy of a thriving economic community would normally see better health, people living longer, it's plateaued and indeed has started to fall off. And people ask the question, why is that? And there are two trains of thought. One is that it's socioeconomic challenges, socioeconomically. The bigger volume of opinion from public health consultants around the world would be that it's more related to obesity and the diseases associated with obesity, blood pressure, stroke, high blood pressure, etc. And that is what's brought us to a plateau. And in Nottinghamshire at the present moment, that's 79 years for a man and 83 years for a woman. The most interesting thing of this report, Councillor Smith, I know you've been waiting for this, is that it's found that the length of time women spend in ill health in Nottinghamshire is considerably more than that of men. And the point of the report was, can we see a reason for that disparity? Can we make people aware of it? Can we intervene? Can we intervene at any point during the journey of femaleness from birth to death and actually improve the health and well-being of the female population of Nottingham? On average, a woman in Nottinghamshire starts in ill health around 60 years of age. Men, pretty similar, 59.7 years of age. And from then on, they live a life in ill health right up until they die at 83 years of age. Now, that is, you have to bear with me. It's further down the line, there is 8 minutes coming down the line. I think there's a question on engineering later on. If you've got to pay, if you survive that long and you don't fall asleep, it probably will be very good. In any case, the most important thing is that women in Nottinghamshire spend 23 years in ill health. So if you've worked your life and then you're hoping to enjoy your retirement, you don't, because you're spending it in ill health. Now, where does that ill health come from? And this is the kernel of the thing. Where are the origins of the diseases that so make a proclivity for the 440,000 women in Nottinghamshire to become ill? And you have to go back to pregnancy, which is the first challenge that women have. Pregnancy, preeclampsia, diabetes, gestationally induced, the trauma of delivery, and everything that goes with it is the first challenge that women face. As you go through life, men and women have roughly the same type of illnesses. Musculoskeletal problems on the one hand, huge amount of back pain and hip pain and leg pain and that sort of thing, and mental health problems. There is a rough overlap of the amount of depression and anxiety that exists both in the population of men and in the population of women. What differentiates them is what happens below that. When you get past the musculoskeletal and you get past the mental health, you get down into the gynecology of the matter.
Chairman, we can't hear anything over here. I've not been able to hear it for the past 4 minutes.
I was just talking about birth, and I was going to work my way through to death at 83 years of age. And it's quite a, for those interested in it, which I'm assuming that it's all of you who are interested in it, not just the female community, that is very important. Now, there are individual differences that exist that make women particularly more likely to have poorer qualities of life. And I'm going to throw in there the fact that most of them are unpaid carers. A lot of women give up an awful lot of their time to be carers. On average, they're poorer paid. A woman has less money. If you have less money, you have less economic security, and therefore the building blocks of life, to have a warm home and to be able to feed yourself and look after yourself, that's quite important. If we look through the early stages of life, and the early stages of life would be from, dare I say, menarche through to the early teens and into the 20s. Various individual conditions exist that most men know nothing about. And the Director of Public Health specifically mentioned a condition called endometriosis. Endometriosis is a systemic condition that affects a large number of...
Madam Chairman, can I just give you points of information that it's very interesting, but it's going to be getting dark soon.
Now, point of clarification, is hunger part of the dying process as well? Because it's nearly lunch.
Now, Councillor Clark, you bring up a good point there about darkness, because violence against women and girls is a very real problem, and therefore evening times, etc., can be a particular risk. Oh, dear. I'm going to go back to endometriosis because the Director of Public Health herself would want me to emphasise this. And the reason she would want me to emphasise it is that the average length of time it takes from a person complaining of a symptom to getting a diagnosis is a staggering 8 years and 10 months. Women told us they were fobbed off by people and told, you've got irritable bowel, take 2 Weetabix. That was the standard treatment for endometriosis in Nottinghamshire. So when you move through those undiagnosed conditions where women spend many years in great distress.
The point of order. The question was, what are the challenges we currently face? I don't think this is really, if Nottinghamshire, I don't think this is particularly pertinent to the people of Nottinghamshire. These are general women's issues. I think this is filibustering. I call upon the leading group to review the Constitution, because there's lots of questions here, and this is stopping us getting to later questions.
It would be quite wrong of us to ignore the Department of Public Health and their seminal paper on the health of the women of Nottinghamshire, and my opportunity to actually help you know, understand, and be part of the solution, perhaps. Part of the solution. That's what we're saying. That's what we're here for. That's what the government has asked of us. And I myself, I'm particularly proud to be here. Now, I'm going to move on into the 20s. Women in the 20s suffer more anxiety and depression in Nottinghamshire than the rest of the population. And that actually presents itself with admissions to A&E departments, to Kelvin up in Kingsmill, in A&E.
Don't drag me into this.
Kelvin, you've got an A&E department up there.
Where?
It's the presentation with self-harm. That is the biggest differentiation between men and women in those early years. Mental health problems, eating disorders, anorexia, the single biggest psychiatric killer in the UK, anorexia. And their admission into hospital with self-harm, etc. And as we come back to whatever supplementary question might exist, one of those keys will be, why is this allowed to happen? Where is the access?
Chairman, point of order 70 is not speaking to the question.
It wasn't. I'll leave it up to Councillor Mason there, and I'm sure that over the course of the next hour that I will do great justice to the Public Health Department and the consultant in public health. And I do apologise that certain people find some things more interesting than others. I don't really like listening to people talking about potholes and roads, but I don't interrupt them. And I don't say that, that's not talking to the question. So I had just got to the point that we were in the 20s, a very important time in anybody's life. And we were looking at mental health, etc.
Councillor Garden. Sorry, point of order. Once again, this is not speaking to the question. The question was specifically about the women of Nottinghamshire. So we want to know about specific issues of the women of Nottinghamshire, not all issues for all women, which is what this point of order was as well.
Yes, I'm very disappointed to tell you that I found no uniqueness about the women of Nottingham that would separate them from the population of the rest of the world. I mean, perhaps I missed some small detail, and I'll go back to the Department of Public Health to say, is there a uniqueness that I've missed? I just haven't seen it, Penny. But I remain open-minded. That's as fair as I can say to you. So as you move through life and move from your 20s into the 30s and the 40s, the big inevitability, what is it that separates men from women? It's the menopause. And what is the menopause? It's a series of vague problems that specifically affect women due to hormonal change. And if anybody says to you, hang on a minute, what's this all about? Any single woman you speak to will say, people don't understand it. They'll say when they go to the doctor, he doesn't understand it. When they go to this doctor, they'll get HRT. When they go to that doctor, they'll get...
Point of order, Chair. Chair, point of order. Dr. Doddy,
yes.
Dr. Doddy, who is a political operator, is clearly not speaking to the question. And furthermore, he is speaking out this item so other questions can't be heard. The people of Nottinghamshire are watching and they can see.
My next...
Now, Councillor Cullen. Oh, sorry. Fullest respect, Chair. I'm actually going to sit down. Just for a minute.
I'm now going to ask Councillor Mason, do you have a supplementary question? I'm sure she will. And I will call on Dr. Doddy to reply.
Thank you, Chair. I just wondered, I did have a supplementary question, but I didn't know whether you wanted to break for lunch before I did it, or...
I think we should finish the question before lunch.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. basically agreed. And what are we going to do about it to address these issues so as we're not living longer in ill health?
A million words, John. Well,
I call on Dr. Doddy to reply.
thank you. Many dinners might go cold during the response to this supplementary question. It's a hell of a question that you sent me this morning, Councillor Mason. I'm never going to talk to you again. Never going to get you to ask a question again. In terms of this, you will not be surprised that we have already had a workshop to address this. A first under the Health and Wellbeing Board, which went from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock. 4 hours. I'm not going to recite it all. 4 hours to directly ask the question from round table, all the districts present, Health Watch present, representatives of voluntary bodies present, sat round the table asking what are the pertinent issues that we need to deal with. System-wide commitment came top of the list. You can't deal with anything unless people recognise that it exists. System-wide acknowledgement of the challenge of women, etc. In addition to that, access to healthcare. Women told us when we asked them that they don't know where to get help for mental health problems. They ring the doctor and they get fobbed off with 2 Weetabix. They had genuine challenges of getting access. They said the words again and again, we get fobbed off. That's what they said, fobbed off. There are genuine barriers to the understanding and the knowledge within professions in order to be able to make diagnosis earlier than 8 years and 10 months with endometriosis. There is an educational gap there that needs to be filled. More support needs to exist.
This has gone on long enough and it's on YouTube. I hope the residents see what a waste of time in our question sessions, not giving other people the opportunity to ask their questions. It's done purposely, you're filibustering and you've set this question up.
I guess you've got no attention span.
I think for a woman of your age to be castigated.
Point of order 100, Chairman. Point of order 100.
You've been through life. You
Disorderly
understand the challenges. This is up to 0 to 83. So, in any case, I'm talking about support in the workplace.
Madam Chairman, could I? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say what a shame it is for the women in Nottinghamshire that Councillor Doddy has used this question to waste all this time on a really, really important issue. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Can I just say
I'm going to stop with one small point. One small point. Oh, have you got your hand stuck up there, or is that arthritis, Butler?
Madam Chair, I was simply going to make the point that this is indeed a very important question, genuinely, I get that. But I fear that you're running into the realms of treating it and us with disrespect for the amount of time you're taking on this important question. And given the importance of the question, perhaps there is another arena, such as the Health and Wellbeing Board, or indeed another committee, that this important discussion can be discussed. So I've just made that point.
I'm going to blame Councillor Mason for that.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you. Just a point of order, Councillor Doddy and Madam Chairman. Age is a protected characteristic. Can you apologise right now to Councillor Saddington for bringing her age into this topic? It has absolutely nothing to do with her fine ability to represent the residents of Fondon and Trent, and she deserves better treatment, Councillor Doddy. I would expect that from the doctor of a professional like you. So apologise now.
Sue Saddington has always got...
Point of clarification, it's Councillor Saddington in here. Have some respect, Councillor Doddy.
Councillor Saddington has my absolute apologies for any offence taken, but we were merely highlighting her experience rather than actually being derogatory in any manner. So I'm going to finish one really important point. When we were doing the study, we found that there was a greater premature mortality in the women of Nottinghamshire from colorectal cancer than elsewhere, which we couldn't explain. And these are the nitty-gritty things I really wanted to get into today. but I realise that time has been a cruel friend and has taken that opportunity away from me. Colorectal cancer, increase in morbidity in women, which is unexplained. And I will follow that up through the Health and Wellbeing Board, and I will make the women of Nottinghamshire, through their proclivity to ill health, better. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now about to announce lunchtime. It's lunchtime, and we'll see you all back in here at 1:40. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone.